Good morning, right? So because I'm speed walking, you get the pleasure of my feet again. Sorry. Right, because I can't be relied upon to hold the camera straight when I'm focusing forward. So, but I can point it downwards. So that's the reasoning behind my madness. Anyway, so last night I decided to have a quiet evening in, because sometimes that's necessary, you know. Sometimes not so much that you got to slow down. You can't keep going at the same pace. So even though I like to go out and enjoy myself, I can also stay in and quietly enjoy the peace. So it was quite early in the evening and I wasn't quite ready to go to bed because the evenings are getting darker much earlier now. I'm trying not to work under the unnatural light. So I packed up quite early and I had some time to kill. So I went on YouTube and there was this one video that I kept seeing for a few days. Every time I go on, it would be this one video. So I decided to watch it, and I watched another one from the same YouTuber, and another, and he just kept coming with them. And it's all these crazy women. So the one that I watched, it was like these obese women, and they're sort of like demanding the right to be dated by men. So it's like, I'm super obese and you should go out with me because you're writing off a whole category of women just because we're big. And I uploaded a video maybe 2 weeks ago, and I mentioned the time one of my friends told me, this was a conversation that she personally had with a woman at church, who said that the men are proud because the women are fat, they don't want to marry them. And this was sort of going back to the 90s, so we're talking 30 years now. So this is an attitude that I first heard of within the church, because there was this thing in the 80s. There was a joke, you know, before political correctness and all of that. There was a joke that the men would sometimes tell, and it was one of the church leaders apparently asked a group of men. It was like a trick question. If you get a chance, or perhaps it wasn't a question, it was just advice, but done in the form of a joke. And so he said, if you get a chance to marry a pretty woman or a spiritual woman, marry the pretty one, because you can always make her spiritual. So it's sort of like, back then, if you look good, you were considered unspiritual. And if you didn't look good, you were considered spiritual. Right, that's how it worked back then. So you can imagine women had every right to let themselves go if they didn't want to be viewed as unspiritual. So that was 30 odd years ago. Actually, almost 40 years ago, we could say. Even maybe before, because I'm sure that joke was older than from the time I heard it. I'm sure it was going around before then. So, cutting a very long story short, unfortunately there are a lot of people out here, so I may have to whisper slightly or talk in hushed tones. Right, so that's where I first heard that about spiritual women are the ones who are not pretty and homely looking, and the ones who are worldly are the ones who make the effort. Anyways, move forward to 2022, and the last few days, I would say, I've been posting. I mean, I dip in and dip out where I will post about overweight people, but not in that kind of way. I don't do it in the kind of way where I'm mocking them or anything. I'm just making the point. So the point these past few days has been that the women tend to rally behind women who don't look good. That's what I noticed. They feel more comfortable with them. So there was I shared someone's post. It's a black guy who likes overweight women, let's say. And he was saying how beautiful this woman was, or how beautiful she looked. But the thing is, she didn't. She was wearing a dress that was totally inappropriate. It was made out of lycra type fabric, whereas it fitted her upper body, looked okay. When you got down to the lower half, it was just rolls and rolls and rolls, and reminded me of Ursula from The Little Mermaid. And I'm not being cruel, I'm just giving you a visual. So I shared it, and I said, because there were a couple of women on there saying that they're overweight and they don't think she looks good. So I shared it from that perspective to say how refreshing it is that women who are, if you like, overweight can actually be honest and say that this other woman who is also overweight doesn't look good, rather than lying like the others or being so delusional that, and I've seen this where they will tell one another, oh, you look really good, when they don't. So yes, I posted it from that perspective to say, look at these two women, and they're actually saying it as it is. So in other words, they're not sensitive, they're not wanting people to I'll go back to the video. The first one I watched, one that kept popping up for days on my YouTube feed. It was a whole bunch of unattractive, because they uglified themselves, unattractive women who basically it's like, it wasn't even like this is how they look. They took measures to make sure that they look even uglier, their personality, just what comes out of their mouth and everything, very unattractive. Not attractive to look at, not attractive to listen to, and demanding that men should date them. Right, so kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, these two women, they weren't about that. They weren't on their sort of like, we want the right to be like these other women they were saying about if they need, one of them in particular, if she needs like larger size clothes, she has to travel like 28 miles or whatever. And it's like, so there was a time back before they started doing size 6 clothes where I couldn't get anything in the shop. I used to have to wear children's clothes, and I just got on with it. I didn't demand that they start catering for me. In fact, what I used to do as well, I used to make my own clothes. So you find a solution. You don't make demands, but it's sort of like that's what happens. And I've said this before, when you give people their rights that they haven't earned, you take away from one lot of people and give to another. But then that can only happen we're talking about free will. You can only get robbed of your rights if you consent, if you're not strong enough to stand up for yourself, if you're too cowardly to do it. Yeah, that's how rights get taken away. So for me, I have all my rights. Nobody's taking my rights from me. But, gosh, I'm puffing here. Right, so, yes, so that's pretty much what the theme has been, I would say, for this last week. And as well, about people looking good for their age. So there was one, because it's the same thing really, whether you're overweight, whether you're old, whatever. So there was one, I think couple, Nicole Kidman and Gwen Stefani. But this was like in the Daily Mail. They were saying how good they look for their age. And you had people jumping on there. Oh, they've had Botox. They've had surgery. This, that. Take off the makeup and let's see how they look. Right, so before I left to come out for my exercise and to go shopping, I did two things. First, from my memories, my photos, I uploaded a picture from exactly 5 years ago yesterday, which is ironic because I didn't go out last night, but 5 years ago I was dressed in my little belly top. I was 51 years old at the time, yes, 51 and a half, almost, in my little belly top, my little Rolling Stone belly top, and minimal makeup, just eyebrow pencil and lipstick. And then for contrast, even though I didn't state my reasons for doing it, for contrast, I uploaded a picture of myself as I am now, dressed on the road, no makeup, and just reverse baseball cap. And I uploaded that captioned with, I asked the question. No, actually, how did I do this? I said, as you know, when I want to, I can prettify myself. Obviously, the other picture that I put up bore record. And then, like I said, this one, no makeup. So it was, when I can prettify myself, because you've got to justify yourself. When I say justify, I don't mean you need to prove anything to people. I mean from the perspective that the first thing people are going to say, yeah, but how do you look? Because you see all these comments usually when you go on a Daily Mail website, or, wherever the post is, wherever the crowd is. Yeah, but how do you look? You see, but nobody tells me that. Because if I say so myself, I look good. Not just for my age, I look good, full stop. Right, so that's one of the first weapons that people will levy against you, how you look. So when you want to come and make certain arguments, they're going to say, yeah, but you don't look any better. She looks better than you. You're just jealous, that kind of thing. So I qualified myself by posting a picture of me as I am now walking on the road. No makeup, reverse baseball cap, belly top, and little shorts and trainers. Right, so obviously I wouldn't wear this if I looked my age, because I would look ridiculous. Right, so you dress age appropriate, or rather you dress how you can get away with it. But this is my style, but I most certainly wouldn't be dressing like this if it didn't suit me. So that's the point I make about the woman who was wearing that dress, and people were telling her how good she looks. She didn't look good. And the two women were saying that she should have worn a dress that's more appropriate for her size. Hi, you're right. Okay. So where are you off to? You're just shopping? All right. See you later. Different circumstances. Yeah. Long story. I'll tell you when I see you next week. Yeah. So that's the guy there walking with his daughter that I normally buy food from, and I'm like one of their best customers. So he just said that he hasn't seen me for a while. But when I said to him just now, different circumstances, it's that I'm eating differently. So whereas before I was buying the food, I think I mentioned in videos previous, I was buying the food from him because it worked out cheaper, more convenient for me to do that. Now I'm just I'm eating differently basically, and my sister has agreed that she wants to eat what I'm eating, so it makes life so much easier. So I don't actually need to go and buy food from him anymore for the time being anyway. Yeah, so as I was saying, you have to qualify yourself, not because you need to prove something, but just to shut people down. Right, so the perfect people to comment on this woman not looking good in that dress were the ones who were the same size as her, basically. So I'm not going to stay too long on this, but I'm going to wind up by saying simply that sometimes, because people are being sensitive, with political correctness and all of that, they allow people, it's like having a child, and you never train that child. The child's going to be wild, right? So you've got people in society who are, it's like protected groups, and they just demand, and they keep getting given, right? So all that happens in that scenario is that, well, the videos are on YouTube. The guy, his channel is Odin's Men. That's Odins Men. And he does a fantastic commentary. So he's providing you with evidence to show you how deranged these people are. And I've always said, I even talk about this in the book, when people have too many freedoms, it can drive them crazy. It's like a garden. If you don't keep the flowers in check, if you don't prune the garden, it's going to grow wild. I think people have too many rights. When I say too many rights, I'm talking about rights that they've not earned. And I visualize a future if people don't take control of the situation and say enough. I visualize a future in which it will be illegal to reject somebody that you would rather not date. And people think I'm crazy in saying that is what's coming next. But if people don't take stock of what's going on right now and say to these deranged women, just be quiet, so, however you say it, whether you want to tell them you shut the F up or whatever, however you do it, unless people start doing that, they're going to end up in a situation, not me, it's not going to happen to me, but these people will never come and approach me on anything. These deranged people. It's not going to happen to me. But what's going to happen is eventually these very same people who are keeping their opinions to themselves, who feel very strongly about it but are too cowardly to speak, they are going to find themselves dating people that they would rather not, because the law tells them they have to. All right, I've arrived at my destination. So I'm going to say see you later. Take care. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.